John Barrymore. When John Barrymore died on May 29, 1942, Hollywood didn't just lose a star, it lost one of its most flamboyant showmen. Known as the Great Profile, Barrymore was a towering figure in both silent and early sound cinema, renowned for his Shakespearean roles and off-screen excesses. So when it came time for his funeral, few expected anything less than theatrical. The service was held at the Church of the Good Shepherd in Beverly Hills, a frequent venue for celebrity farewells. Attended by a who's who of Golden Age Hollywood, the ceremony reportedly included dramatic flourishes that echoed Barrymore's stage career. According to various sources, his body was dressed in a velvet cloak, with makeup evoking his legendary portrayals of Hamlet and Richard III. Friends were said to have recited Shakespearean passages during the service, turning the event into an impromptu tribute performance. But the real drama unraveled after the funeral. One of Hollywood's most persistent legends claims that actor Errol Flynn and director Raoul Walsh removed Barrymore's body from the mortuary and brought it to Flynn's Beverly Hills home, propping it up to startle guests. The story first surfaced in Flynn's memoir, My Wicked, Wicked Ways, and has since been retold in biographies and interviews. Others maintain it was a final prank in Barrymore's honor, while some dismiss it as pure Hollywood myth-making. Either way, it's a tale that refuses to die. Adding to the intrigue, rumors swirled that Barrymore had requested a traditional Catholic service. If true, the theatrical elements of his funeral may have clashed with his personal wishes, sparking quiet tension between his family and his inner circle of actor friends. That conflict between reverence and performance only deepened the spectacle. Barrymore was laid to rest at Calvary Cemetery in East Los Angeles, but his legacy didn't stay buried. The corpse prank legend was loosely echoed in the 1981 film S.O.B., directed by Blake Edwards, a satirical nod to Hollywood's obsession with drama, even in death. For John Barrymore, the final curtain call came with an encore. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn's funeral was as flamboyant as the persona he built on screen. The actor, who rose to fame in the 1930s with hits like Captain Blood and The Adventures of Robin Hood, died on October 14, 1959, at the age of 50. Known for his swashbuckling roles and scandal-laced reputation, Flynn reportedly requested to be buried with 6 bottles of whiskey and a copy of his memoir, My Wicked, Wicked Ways, a book that had hit shelves just weeks before his death and pulled no punches about his turbulent lifestyle. Whether this burial request was honored continues to be uncertain, but the whispers endure. His funeral took place at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, a cemetery favored by Hollywood elites. Flynn's casket, described in some accounts as a polished mahogany piece lined with red velvet, seemed more fit for a film set than a gravesite. Reports suggest a quiet dispute over the burial plot may have prompted a discreet relocation within the grounds, though others claim it was simply to maintain family privacy. The ceremony itself leaned into theatricality, with eulogies quoting Shakespeare and sea-themed poetry, nodding to Flynn's pirate roles. Among the mourners were the close friends from Hollywood's Golden Circle, including David Niven and reportedly Olivia de Havilland, his frequent co-star and off-screen confidant. Certain testimonies recount she was visibly emotional throughout the service, adding another layer of drama to an already storied farewell. Flynn once said he wanted to be remembered not for scandal, but for romance and adventure. Whether his funeral helped reshape that legacy or simply fortified his legend as Hollywood's ultimate rogue remains an open question. Tula Bankhead. Tula Bankhead's funeral was anything but conventional, fitting for an actress who built a career on defying expectations. When she died on December 12, 1968, at age 66, the service at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Chestertown, Maryland, reflected her flair for the dramatic. She was dressed in a black evening gown draped in pearls and wore her trademark red lipstick. No formal eulogies were delivered. Instead, the atmosphere leaned theatrical, with live organ music and a crowd of mourners that include actors, politicians, and journalists. While some sources insist there were dramatic readings from Oscar Wilde or a recording of Bankhead quoting Shakespeare, no primary sources confirm it, though conjecture lingers. Her pallbearers were reportedly close friends and family, though later stories suggest they may have included figures from the Broadway world in nod to her stage legacy. The reception? Allegedly stocked with champagne and caviar, a detail often repeated in biographies, though whether it was her specific request or just an indulgent tribute remains unclear. The final mystery? Her ashes. Others venture to guess they were scattered off the coast of Spain, a place she once said made her feel most alive. True or not, the speculation only adds to the legend of a star who made sure her curtain call was as unforgettable as her career. Mae West. Mae West didn't just want a funeral, she wanted a final bow. At the time of her passing on November 22, 1980, the screen legend had already mapped out a farewell that mirrored her decades-long reign as Hollywood's queen of sass and spectacle. She was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, dressed in a white satin gown and resting in a gold-trimmed casket, details she reportedly arranged herself. According to biographer Simon Luvish, West was determined to control her image to the very end. While rumors swirled for years about a red carpet, impersonators, or even burlesque dancers at the reception, no verified sources confirm those flourishes. Still, the myth endures. Some dare to guess she envisioned her send-off as a final act of defiance, more cabaret than ceremony. Rumor has it that she once said she wanted to be remembered with a wink and a wiggle, a line that's never been pinned to a source but fits the persona she curated with precision. Whether fact or folklore, Mae West's funeral remains a symbol of the star's lifelong commitment to turning life and death into performance art. Jean Harlow. Jean Harlow's death on June 7, 1937, sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Just 26 years old, the original blonde bombshell collapsed from kidney failure during filming of Saratoga. But while her passing was sudden, her farewell was anything but modest. MGM studio chief Louis B. Mayer oversaw a tightly controlled funeral that looked more like a studio production than a private memorial. A bronze casket lined with white satin, thousands of white gardenias, her favorite flower, shipped in to drench the chapel in scent, and a final outfit, a white gown widely believed to have been designed by MGM's legendary costume designer Adrian, though that detail remains debated. The service was held at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, closed to the public and guarded by security. Hollywood elites like Clark Gable, Carol Lombard, and Spencer Tracy attended under strict studio coordination. A Catholic priest conducted the ceremony not due to Harlow's own beliefs, she was raised Methodist, but reportedly at the insistence of her mother, who had converted to Catholicism. In the years since, biographers have questioned whether the funeral honored the woman or maintained the brand. Some even assert MGM used the spectacle to preserve Harlow's image in death as carefully as they had in life. The boundary between heartfelt homage and calculated marketing is still contested. Douglas Fairbanks. Douglas Fairbanks, the face of silent-era Hollywood adventure, didn't live to script his own farewell, but the spectacle that followed his death in December of 1939 certainly played out like one of his films. Though he died suddenly of a heart attack, Fairbanks had already chosen his final resting place. A grand white marble sarcophagus beside a reflecting pool framed by Greco-Roman columns at Hollywood Memorial Cemetery, now Hollywood Forever. The mausoleum, designed to echo the mythic scale of his on-screen persona, was a project he initiated during his lifetime. After his passing, it was his son, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., who took the reins in staging a funeral worthy of cinematic royalty. The ceremony was private, but whispers of its grandeur spread quickly. Legends tease that mourners arrived in vintage limousines and that the grounds were blanketed in rare floral arrangements. Some even rumored to have been flown in from Europe. While no public procession took place, the scale and symbolism of the event left a lasting impression. Fairbanks's epitaph, added later, reads, "Good night, sweet prince," a Shakespearean nod that felt both theatrical and personal. Some surmise that the sheer elegance of his mausoleum sparked a quiet trend among aging silent film stars, who began planning their own dramatic farewells. Whether coincidence or influence, Fairbanks's final act blurred the line between legacy and legend, sealing his image as Hollywood's original larger-than-life icon. Carol Lombard. Carol Lombard's funeral in January of 1942 became one of the most talked-about memorials of the wartime era. After the 33-year-old actress was killed in a plane crash near Las Vegas while returning from a war bond rally, the public response was immediate and overwhelming. Lombard had just helped raise over $2 million in a single day, an extraordinary figure at the time. Her sudden death stunned the nation, and what followed was a service layered in symbolism. While a number of historians note she left specific instructions, including a request for no flowers and only donations to the Red Cross, various reports indicate those decisions were made by her family or studio. Regardless, donations reportedly flooded in. A military presence at her funeral reflected her patriotic efforts, and stories have circulated for decades that her casket was flanked by war bond posters, a claim that adds cinematic flair, though it's never been verified. Clark Gable, her husband, was said to have stayed by her side for hours, refusing to leave until the burial was complete. Her grave at Forest Lawn Memorial Park remains modest, bearing only her name and a brief tribute. Whether orchestrated or not, the ceremony became a moment of national reflection, part tribute, part morale booster, and entirely unforgettable. Tyrone Power. Tyrone Power's final curtain call came on November 15, 1958, when the Hollywood heartthrob collapsed in Madrid while filming a duel for the biblical epic Solomon and Sheba. But what followed was no ordinary farewell. His body was returned to Los Angeles, where his funeral drew a crowd of industry legends to the Church of the Good Shepherd in Beverly Hills, a venue long associated with the Golden Age elite. Power's wartime service as a Marine Corps pilot during World War II was acknowledged during the ceremony, with his military medals reportedly displayed near the casket. Close friends, including Cesar Romero and Marlene Dietrich, attended the service. Speculation had persisted for years that Dietrich, visibly shaken, had to be helped from her seat, though no official account confirms the drama. Some guests described the atmosphere as more cinematic than somber, with the sense that the star's legacy was being curated in real time. Power was laid to rest at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, beneath a simple bronze plaque bearing his name, birth, and death dates, and the inscription, "Good night, sweet prince." Hushed talk in Hollywood circles suggested the service had been orchestrated with the same precision as one of his swashbuckling roles, a discreet tribute perhaps to a man who knew how to make an exit. Clark Gable. Clark Gable's funeral in November of 1960 wasn't just a farewell. It was a production befitting a man long known as the King of Hollywood. At the peak of his fame from the 1930s through the 50s, Gable had become a towering symbol of American cinema. His service at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale drew a large gathering of mourners, including Hollywood icons like Spencer Tracy, James Stewart, and Ronald Reagan. Gable was interred in a bronze casket beside his third wife, actress Carole Lombard, who had died in a plane crash in 1942. The ceremony featured a reading of Rudyard Kipling's poem If, a personal favorite of Gable's. A military honor guard stood in recognition of his service as a World War II officer with the U.S. Army Air Forces, where he flew combat missions in Europe. Life magazine covered the event extensively, an editorial choice some later claimed was coordinated by studio insiders to maintain Gable's mythos even in death. Whispers around Hollywood hinted that the entire affair was less about mourning and more about legacy management. Whether by design or coincidence, Gable's last curtain call blurred the line between personal tribute and public spectacle, just as his life often had. W.C. Fields. W.C. Fields, the sharp-tongued comic who skewered sentimentality for decades, passed away on December 25, 1946. Despite his reputation for irreverence, his funeral at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California, was a conventional affair, muted, respectful, and far removed from the theatrical send-off many fans might have expected. Yet over time, a tide of whispers transformed his farewell into legend. Certain accounts allege Fields requested a casket, shaped like a whiskey barrel, a nod to his famously boozy screen persona. Alternative sources propose a jazz band played ragtime instead of hymns, or that a mechanical duck, referencing one of his vaudeville routines, sat beside the casket. None of these stories appear in contemporary reports, but they persist in Hollywood lore. Perhaps the most enduring myth is his supposed epitaph, "On the whole, I'd rather be in Philadelphia." It never appeared on his gravestone, but the line lives on as a punchline Fields allegedly insisted on using. While the real funeral was subdued, these anecdotes have taken on a life of their own, turning a standard memorial into a posthumous comedy sketch that Fields himself might have appreciated. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our new videos each week. Thanks for watching.